Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're diving into the world of wholesale distribution,
Okay.
specifically how to really make it big in this industry.
Mm-hmm.
You brought us some really interesting excerpts from Accelerate Your Career, the Wholesale Distribution Business by Alfred Trey, Berlin III.
Yes.
So
Fascinating read.
let's unpack it with expert speaker.
Yeah, full of insights for anyone looking to not just survive, but thrive in this field. Mm-hmm. And you've picked an interesting time to explore it.
Right?
The wholesale distribution landscape is rapidly evolving.
Yeah, the book dives right into that, doesn't it? It talks about how tech is revolutionizing the industry, but then makes this surprising point.
Okay.
Even with all the fancy new systems,
Yeah.
entry-level folks who can bridge the gap between the old way and the digital age are in high demand.
It's like the missing link in the supply chain.
Wow.
The ability to speak both the language of traditional processes
Right.
and the language of automation. What's fascinating is the book highlights a huge untapped talent pool.
Huge.
People who don't even consider distribution as a career because they have this outdated image of what it is.
Yeah, like they're picturing a scene from Raiders of the Lost Ark,
Yes.
a giant dusty warehouse with a single light bulb.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But in reality, it's a field ripe for innovation.
Okay.
The book gives this example of a company using AI to track weather patterns and then adjust its inventory in real time to meet predicted demand.
Wow, that's a far cry from dusty warehouses.
That's a far cry.
Right.
Yeah.
And it speaks to this whole idea of needing tech-savvy people at all levels.
Yes.
The book specifically mentions the 17 to 24 age group being primed for this industry.
Which makes total sense.
Yeah.
They've grown up with technology.
Right.
Imagine harnessing their intuition for data analysis or social media.
Oh, yeah.
That's a game changer.
Okay, so we've got tech shaking things up. We've
Yeah.
got a whole generation ready to dive in.
Mm.
But then the book takes this unexpected turn into company culture.
Okay.
I'll be honest, I thought this section might be a bit dry, but it was surprisingly insightful.
It's not just about free snacks and team building exercises, is it?
Right.
The book argues that culture is about those small, often overlooked details that reveal a company's true values.
For example.
How a company responds to an employee experiencing a death in the family.
Oh, wow.
Or welcoming a new baby speaks volumes about their priorities.
Okay.
Is it just a formality?
Yeah.
Or is there genuine care and support?
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
It's about action speaking louder than words.
Mm-hmm.
The book also goes into this intriguing concept called the 7-year customer life cycle.
Okay.
It's like dating, but for salespeople.
Interesting.
You've got that initial honeymoon phase where you're winning them over.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And just like in a relationship, the dynamics and needs evolve over time.
Right.
The book points out those first 2 years are often the most expensive for businesses because they're building that foundation of trust with the client.
It's that whole you have to spend money to make money idea.
Right.
But then from years 2 to 6, that's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Because you've ideally moved beyond basic transactions and into a partnership.
Okay.
But here's where a lot of companies stumble.
Oh.
The book argues that as the customer relationship matures,
Right.
the role of the salesperson has to change too.
Interesting.
So it's not just about landing the big client.
Right.
It's about nurturing that relationship for the long haul.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It might sound counterintuitive,
Yeah.
but the outside salesperson who brought in the client initially
Right.
becomes less vital as the relationship matures.
Intriguing. So who takes center stage?
The inside sales team,
Okay.
they're the ones building those day-to-day connections,
Gotcha.
becoming trusted advisors rather than just order takers.
Right.
This is where knowing your customer inside and out becomes critical.
That makes a lot of sense. It's about playing the long game,
Mm-hmm.
building loyalty that runs deeper than just the next deal.
Absolutely.
Speaking of strategy,
Okay.
this book is a huge advocate for measurement,
Mm-hmm.
not just in sales, but in every facet of the business.
Right. It's about moving away from intuition
Okay.
and towards data-driven decision-making.
Yeah.
One of the most surprising pieces of advice
Yeah.
is to analyze bids you didn't win.
What?
Yeah, the book argues that dissecting those losses can reveal blind spots in your approach,
Wow.
helping you refine your strategies.
So it's not just about celebrating the wins, it's about learning from the losses.
Exactly.
Right. It's about learning from your mistakes, but on a much larger scale.
Absolutely.
They even suggest that up to 40% of what we do in business might be unnecessary if we really took the time to analyze our processes.
Wow.
Imagine the efficiency gains if we could identify even half of that wasted effort.
Now that's a deep dive worth taking.
Totally. Okay, one more thing from this section that really resonated with me. This idea of true culture.
Okay.
The book argues it goes beyond the typical corporate jargon of mission statements
Right.
and values plastered on the wall.
Like a poster.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's about how those values manifest in everyday actions.
Right? Absolutely.
It's the way people carry themselves, the language they use, even down to seemingly small things like what they eat for lunch.
The book emphasizes that creating a positive and supportive environment where everyone feels valued is key.
And that those values should be woven into every interaction, big or small.
Absolutely. It's about creating an environment where people feel genuinely connected to the company's mission
Right.
and to each other.
Now, the book also dives into how this plays out in the 3 distinct cultures that exist within a business:
Yes.
sales management and operations.
And how crucial it is to align those cultures.
Right.
The book makes the point that if you can get 2 of them in sync,
Okay.
the third one tends to fall into place naturally.
Interesting. It's like a 3-legged stool. You need all 3 to be stable
Right.
for the whole thing to work.
Mm-hmm.
Finally, the book concludes with this really heartfelt tribute to a mentor named Mr. James Maloney.
Mr. Maloney, from the way he's described, clearly understood the human side of business,
Yeah.
which the authors argue is just as important as the bottom line.
It sounds like he was this rare combination of being fiscally savvy.
Mm-hmm.
The book mentions he was known for being quite conservative when it came to spending,
Right.
but also incredibly generous towards people.
Exactly.
And that generosity wasn't just about money, but about his time
Mm-hmm.
and mentorship.
Right.
The book really emphasizes his belief in investing in people.
Which, in a way, brings us back full circle to that idea of nurturing a strong company culture.
It's not just about profits, it's about people.
It's about creating an environment where everyone feels valued and empowered to contribute their best.
All right, so we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
Yes, we have.
From the impact of technology to the importance of company culture and the surprising power of measuring your losses.
Mm-hmm.
But let's dive into the specifics, shall we?
Let's get into it.
What are some concrete steps listeners can take to attract young talent, build a thriving sales culture, and create that elusive, true culture this book talks about?
All right, let's do it. So you want to attract young talent.
Yeah.
The book argues the wholesale distribution industry needs a serious image makeover.
Okay.
It's not enough to just post job openings.
Right.
You have to speak their language.
Out with the old help wanted signs, in with the targeted TikTok campaigns.
Exactly.
Right.
The book talks about showcasing the exciting tech side of the industry.
Okay.
Think inventory management systems, logistics software, even AI-powered predictive analytics. This isn't your grandfather's distribution center anymore.
We're talking about drones zipping around warehouses instead of guys on forklifts.
Precisely.
Okay.
The book even gives an example of a company using augmented reality to train their warehouse staff. Wow.
Which really brings home the tech-forward approach they're advocating.
It's like they're saying, hey, if you can master a video game, you can master this warehouse.
There's that gamification element that can be really appealing to younger generations.
Yeah.
But it's not just about the tech itself, it's about the problems you can solve with it.
Okay.
The book argues that companies need to highlight how they're using data to optimize their operations,
Right.
personalize customer experiences, even predict future trends.
Show them they're not just pushing buttons.
Exactly.
They're shaping the future of the industry.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that message can really resonate with young people who are passionate about technology and its real-world impact.
Right.
But speaking of bridging the gap between generations,
Yes.
the book also stresses the importance of mentorship programs.
I can see how that would be crucial. You've got all this institutional knowledge that needs to be passed down.
Right.
And then you've got this younger generation coming in with fresh perspectives and tech skills.
It's a perfect recipe for mentorship.
And it benefits both sides.
Right.
Seasoned employees get up to speed on the latest technologies and trends,
Go away.
while younger hires gain invaluable insights from those who have been in the trenches.
Makes sense.
The book actually recommends setting up reverse mentorship programs
Okay.
where younger employees mentor senior staff on specific tech skills.
I love that.
Yeah.
Okay, let's shift gears and talk sales culture.
Okay.
This book had some really interesting insights on how to build a team that thrives in the fast-paced world of wholesale distribution.
Right.
What were some of the key takeaways for you?
Well, remember that 7-year customer life cycle we discussed earlier?
Yes.
The book really emphasizes the need to tailor your sales approach to each stage of that life cycle.
Right. It's not one size fits all.
Exactly.
You can't woo a long-term client with the same tactics you'd use on a brand new prospect.
Exactly. In the early stages, it's
Yeah.
all about building trust, showcasing your expertise, and maybe even going the extra mile with personalized service.
Okay.
But as the relationship matures,
Yeah.
the focus shifts to anticipating needs,
I see.
offering customized solutions, and becoming a true partner.
And that's where the inside sales team comes in, right?
Exactly.
Nurturing those relationships and keeping those long-term clients happy.
They're the ones on the front lines building those day-to-day connections.
Okay.
The book argues that companies should invest heavily in their inside sales teams,
Right.
equipping them with the tools, training, and resources they need to excel.
Makes sense. Investing in those relationships is good for business.
It is.
Now, one thing this book hammered home again and again
Okay.
was the importance of measurement.
Yeah.
It's not enough to just have a hunch. You need to back it up with data.
Data-driven decision-making, that's the name of the game.
Track everything that's measurable, the book says.
Yes.
Sales numbers, profit margins, customer retention rates, even seemingly small things like how long it takes to process an order. It's about identifying those key performance indicators,
Yes.
those KPIs everyone's always talking about.
Right.
But what I found really interesting was their advice on using those metrics to not just track progress,
Okay.
but to actually drive improvement.
Absolutely. They use this great analogy.
Yep.
Imagine a ship sailing without a rudder.
Okay.
Sure, it's moving,
Yeah.
but it's not going to reach its destination without a way to course correct.
And that's what data allows you to do.
Right?
Make those course corrections in real time based on what the numbers are telling you.
The book even suggests holding regular data deep dives,
Oh,
where teams come together to analyze key metrics,
Okay.
identify areas for improvement, and brainstorm solutions.
So it's not just about collecting the data, it's about actually using it to make better decisions.
This collaborative approach helps break down silos between departments and fosters a culture of continuous improvement.
I love how this book is all about action, taking those insights and turning them into something tangible. Speaking of tangible, let's talk about creating that elusive true culture we keep circling back to.
That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
It's about those subtle, everyday actions that speak volumes.
Okay.
The book talks about creating a culture of recognition,
Okay.
where employees feel valued and appreciated.
It's about celebrating the wins, big and small.
Absolutely. But it's also about how you handle the tough stuff.
Right.
The book really emphasizes the importance of leadership setting the tone.
So it's not just about what you say, it's about what you do.
Leaders have to walk the walk, not just talk the talk.
Right. It's about leading by example.
They need to embody the values they want to see reflected in their employees.
Okay.
It's about creating a culture of accountability,
Right.
but also one of support and empathy.
It's about recognizing that employees are people first, not just cogs in a machine.
Exactly. And that leads into another key point,
Okay.
fostering a sense of community.
Okay. How do you do that?
The book argues that companies should encourage social interaction among employees,
Okay.
even if it's just casual conversations around the water cooler.
Especially with more people working remotely these days.
Yeah.
Those informal connections become even more important.
Absolutely. What were some of the other takeaways that resonated with you when it came to building a strong company culture?
One that really stood out was the importance of open and honest communication.
Yeah, the book stresses that employees need to feel heard and valued.
Okay.
And that starts with creating a culture where they feel comfortable sharing their ideas and concerns without fear of reprisal.
Psychological safety. It's something we've been hearing a lot about lately.
Right.
And for good reason.
Yes.
It's about creating an environment where people feel safe to take risks,
Absolutely.
to speak up to be themselves, without fear of being punished or ridiculed.
Exactly. The book argues that this type of environment fosters innovation and creativity
Right.
because employees feel empowered to bring their whole selves to work.
Makes them feel like they're not just showing up to do a job.
Right.
They're part of something bigger.
Exactly. And it sounds like Mr.
And I don't want to spoil the ending,
Okay.
but the book wraps up with this really moving tribute to Mr. Maloney,
Yes.
the mentor who clearly had a profound impact on the company and the authors.
He sounds like the embodiment of the values the book espouses.
Yeah.
What I found most striking was his belief in a balanced approach.
Okay.
Fiscal prudence in business,
Right.
but generosity and compassion towards people.
Yeah, it's like he understood that true success isn't just about the bottom line.
Right.
It's about the impact you have on the people around you.
And that's a powerful legacy to leave behind.
It really is.
Okay.
We've covered a lot of ground,
Yes, we have.
but there's one more crucial piece of the puzzle we need to unpack.
Okay.
How to navigate those tricky personalities we all encounter in the workplace.
Oh, boy.
And let's be honest.
Yes.
The wholesale distribution industry, like any other,
Right.
has its fair share of big egos and challenging characters.
That's where the book's advice on handling difficult personalities comes in. And they don't shy away from tackling some of the tougher ones, like dealing with narcissists in the workplace.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Yeah,
Narcissists can be so disruptive and demoralizing.
they can be.
What kind of strategies does the book offer for handling those situations?
Well, it emphasizes the importance of recognizing the signs early on.
Okay.
Narcissists are often charming and charismatic at first,
Right.
but their need for admiration and a lack of empathy can quickly create a toxic work environment.
So it's about being able to see through the charm offensive
Yes.
and recognizing the red flags before things escalate.
Exactly. What kind of red flags should people be on the lookout for?
They provide a few telltale signs.
Okay.
A constant need for praise, an inability to handle criticism, a tendency to take credit for others' work, and a lack of empathy for colleagues.
It's all about me, right?
They also emphasize that it's not about diagnosing someone with a personality disorder.
Right.
It's about recognizing and addressing behaviors that are harmful to the team.
That's such an important point.
Right.
It's about addressing the behavior, not labeling the person.
What kind of practical tips do they offer for actually dealing with these challenging personalities?
One of the most important pieces of advice is to set clear boundaries early on.
Okay.
Make it clear that while you value their contributions,
Right.
their behavior is impacting the team and needs to change.
Direct and to the point. I like it.
They also stress the importance of documenting everything.
Really? Why is that so important?
This is especially important if the behavior escalates to the point where HR needs to get involved.
So it's about protecting yourself and the company while also trying to address the situation head on. That can be a tough balance to strike.
It definitely can be, and the book acknowledges that not all difficult personalities are created equal.
Right.
They offer specific strategies for dealing with different types, from the overly aggressive to the passive-aggressive
Oh, yeah. Those are tough.
to the chronic complainer.
Okay, so we've got strategies for attracting top talent, building a thriving sales culture, creating a company culture that people actually want to be a part of, and even navigating those inevitable challenging personalities that pop up in every workplace.
It's all in there.
What else does this book have in store for us?
Well, the book concludes with some really insightful reflections on the changing landscape of the industry as a whole.
Okay.
And it poses a really thought-provoking question.
Hit me.
In the age of automation and wholesale distribution.
What a great question to end on.
It is, isn't it?
It's not just about keeping up with the latest technology.
Right.
It's about understanding how to leverage those tools to create value, build relationships, and thrive in this evolving marketplace.
And it's about remembering the human element, those
Yeah.
core values of integrity, hard work, and genuine connection that will always be essential no matter how much technology reshapes the industry.
Well said. So what are your final thoughts as we wrap up this deep dive?
Oh.
What are the key takeaways you hope listeners will walk away with?
For me, it's about recognizing that wholesale distribution is at a crossroads.
Okay.
Technology is transforming the way things are done, but it's the human element, the ability to connect, collaborate, and lead with empathy that will ultimately determine who thrives in this new landscape.
And that's a powerful message for anyone in any industry, really.
It is.
It's about finding that balance between embracing the future and staying true to those core values that have always been the foundation of success.
Absolutely.
You know, what's interesting is how this book, it kind of seamlessly brings together these big industry trends
Yes.
with actually really practical advice
Yeah.
for dealing with the day-to-day of working in this industry.
Yeah, it's that balance that makes
There's-
it so valuable.
Yeah, and one of the things that I think they do a really good job of is talking about this idea of difficult personalities.
Yes.
Because it's one thing to say, hey, this is how you should be managing your inventory, right?
Yeah.
This is how you should be thinking about sales. But at the end of the day, you're managing personalities too.
Right. And I think they do a really good job of outlining the different personality types
Yeah.
and how to,
Yeah, like they don't shy away from it.
no, they don't.
They're like, let's talk about narcissists in the workplace,
Absolutely. And how to deal with them.
which can be really tough.
It can be a minefield
It really can.
because often they present very well initially.
Right.
But that need for constant admiration and the lack of empathy
Right.
can really start to, like, poison the team.
They such the air out of the
It's
room.
crazy. So recognizing those early warning signs,
What are some of those red flags?
the constant need for praise, inability to take criticism,
Okay.
taking credit for other people's work,
Okay.
lack of empathy for colleagues.
Yeah, so if you're seeing that, what do you do? Do you confront them head on?
The book actually cautions against doing that,
Right.
at least initially, because, again, with that lack of self-reflection,
Right.
they may react very defensively.
Yes, yeah.
So they recommend kind of setting those boundaries
Okay.
and really focusing on the impact of the behavior.
So it's less about you're a narcissist, you need to change.
Yes.
And more about, hey, when you do this, it prevents other people from being able to share their ideas.
Exactly. And this is how it makes me feel.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
When you interrupt me in a meeting,
Right?
it makes me feel like my opinion isn't valid.
Okay, so frame it within that context.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay.
And then documentation is key.
Why is documentation so important?
Because if it escalates and you need to involve HR,
Right.
you have a record of what's happened.
So it's about protecting yourself,
Yes.
but also trying to address the behavior.
Exactly.
Okay, interesting.
It's a tough one
It is tough.
to balance for sure.
Now, one thing I do want to say is they don't just focus on the negative in this book.
No.
They also talk about, like, celebrating wins,
Absolutely.
recognizing people who are really embodying the values of the company.
Yes. Creating that culture where people feel valued.
Right.
And it doesn't have to be a big,
Yeah.
expensive gift or anything, even just like a handwritten thank you note.
It's the thought that counts.
Genuine.
Don't just be like, good job.
Right.
But tell them exactly what they did.
I really appreciated it when you did this in the meeting today.
Yeah.
It really helped move the project forward.
Okay, I like.
Something specific.
So before we wrap up, because I know we're getting towards the end of our deep dive here,
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on something you said earlier, which is this idea that, like, wholesale distribution is kind of at a crossroads.
Yes.
Where do you see things going? What do you think the future holds for this industry?
I think it's a very exciting time to be in wholesale distribution
Okay.
because technology is really changing the game.
Right.
But I think it goes back to what we were saying before. Those companies that are willing to adapt, who are really embracing innovation.
So it's not even just about, like, the technology.
It's about the people
Right.
who are willing to use it.
Because technology can only take you so far.
Exactly.
It sounds like this book is kind of like the playbook for navigating all of this.
It really is.
So for anyone out there who's in wholesale distribution or thinking about a career in this field,
Yes.
it sounds like this is a must-read.
Absolutely. And even if you're not in
Yeah.
this industry,
Right.
it has so many great takeaways about leadership, about
Yeah.
managing teams.
Yeah, it's really about people.
It is. It's all about those relationships.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive.
It has.
So much great information and insights packed into this conversation. So thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
It's my pleasure.
And for everyone listening, thanks for diving in with us. We'll see you next time.